We are Things I Found Online, where radio legends are exploring the newfangled internet. I am Louise Palanker, and our guests are voiceover great Randy Thomas, author, TV writer Greg Cope White, and author, talk show host Vicki Abelson. Give ourselves a round of applause at home, would you please? Thank you. Oh, you should have put your coffee down before you tried to do that. Okay, so now mop things up. There you go. All right, enjoy. Our show's about to get extremely entertaining. Our guest, I know Vicki. Vicki and I we're cohorts on Wednesday nights where we do Vicki's podcast.
Do not call it that.
Vicki's, what do you want to, Vicki's talk show. Vicki's talk show. And it's an extravaganza, and we have had some wonderful adventures, but we're going to get to that in a moment. Greg Cope White is here. He's still sharing the show on his Facebook. And my new friend...
I'll be doing that till the show's over.
And my new favorite friend is Randy Thomas, who's a voiceover... Can I call you a queen?
Sure.
A voiceover queen.
You can call me a queen.
All right. And I will. So let's Google Randy. Is she on the internet, John? Yeah. You don't know you exist until you find yourself online. There we go. Look at
that is lovely.
That is beautiful.
Oh boy, thank you.
So you can scroll through that as I read from her bio. Randy, America's premier female live voice announcer, Randy Thomas, made history as the first woman to announce the Academy Awards, the Emmy Awards, the SAG Awards, the AFI Awards, to name a few. As the 8th time announcer of the Oscars and 19th Tony announcer, Thomas has been winning accolades and opening doors to female voice artists for 20 years in addition to her experience as a radio personality in New York, Los Angeles, Detroit, and Miami. Randy, you have just returned from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony. Yes?
Yes, late last night.
Oh, late last night. Are you jet laggy?
Wait, it's Tuesday. No, I got back Sunday. I am jet laggy.
All right. So inducted this year were Bon Jovi, The Cars, Dire Straits, The Moody Blues, Nina Simone, and for early influence, sister Rosetta Tharpe. So, Randy, any dish, gossip, feuds, drama, dust-ups, what went down?
Ooh. Gosh, all the things I would love to say.
Oh, please.
Well,
are the blues as moody as ever?
This is a safe space.
Sure it is. It's just here.
It's just
and
us.
Facebook.
It's
It's just no one's watching my show.
No. Okay,
Go.
of course. I know, just like mine. So some of the dish was we had to put Bon Jovi first.
Yeah.
Because
his hair falls later in the evening.
No, he looks good.
I know. He's so cute.
He is so cute. His wife, Dorothea, they had all their kids.
Aww.
And it was really quite the homecoming for them. Getting Richie Sambora on the same stage. Howard did not want to sit through a night of all of these inductions. So
Howard Stern?
Howard Stern.
What a diva.
He's like, put me on first. And we're like, no. Killers are first. And then... And so we put them on second. Moody Blues technically is the last song, but who knows? We could flip it and put Howard at the end.
So
the
Moody
magic
Blues was
of television.
Just John and Justin because they just lost Ray, correct?
Yeah.
So was there a dry eye in the house?
I think the people really loved Moody Blues. I mean, I don't know why Jan Wenner, Howard does the funniest bit on Jan, Yan, John, whatever the hell your name is. It's like, you don't even play an instrument. How did you get to be in charge? He says, you did do a great magazine, though, and now it's the size of a pamphlet. So I don't know what took so long. I mean, Nights in White Satin alone. Once that song came out on the radio, how do you not induct the band that wrote that?
Yeah.
Forget about all the other songs they wrote.
Yeah.
That's like a stairway to heaven. It's forever.
So it took too long for the Moody Blues.
Yeah, they were eligible for induction a while ago, and it did take this long. So I think Jan didn't like a lot of the bands that are finally being inducted. I think it was tough getting Yes into the Rock Hall last year.
So wait, Jan, it's up to Jan who gets into the Rock and Roll?
No, but I think he has a lot of influence. And
You would think Yes would be the easiest band to get in.
Yeah, because they've answered the question.
Right. But, I started in radio as a disc jockey, so I played a lot of this music early on in my career. And I do remember that there was that time where Rolling Stone didn't like bands like Yes. They just wouldn't acknowledge synth keyboard-based, that whole sound.
That big
they
sound.
didn't acknowledge Yes. Asia, I think... Even Boston,
Wow.
And even the Cars. I mean, they played a lot of guitar, some great guitar in there, but they were sort of that new agey, punky synth sort of sound.
But sounds change, and you have to be adaptable, and that was the whole point of Rolling Stone, wasn't it? Was to accept difference and just.
You would think that's the credo of all of rock and roll.
Sure.
You know, that
Like a
whoever
Rolling
you
Stone.
are, right?
It's a Rolling Stone. That's right, Greg. It's rolling.
Just go with it.
Just roll with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it was great, and it's going to air live on HBO on May 5th.
And so, what's a typical VO? Like, what's something you said that night?
It's not going to air live because you already did it.
No, it can't air live. It was over 4 hours
Right,
and 20
yeah,
minutes.
okay.
And there's probably
then
cussing.
We've got
Well,
There
Yeah.
is
HBO,
cussing,
you can cuss on
goddammit.
HBO.
Yeah, and there's Howard getting impatient.
Howard starts the night off with the words that you can't even believe and talking about penis. He's inducting Richie Sambor into the Hall of Penises, apparently. So
That means he's watched the tape. So then he's a fan.
so there you go.
All right, outed. Go ahead.
All right.
So what's a typical?
It would be, tonight from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in Cleveland, Ohio. Here's the class of 2018 and Dire Straits, Bon Jovi, The Cars, Moody Blues, Nina Simone, and Sister Rosetta Tharpe. Then I would say something like, the opening, and then I'll say, to honor Sister Rosetta Tharpe, here is Brittany Howard from Alabama Shakes.
Aww.
And Miss
awesome.
Lauryn Hill honors Nina Simone.
Nice.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Andra Day honor with Roots. The
Wow.
Roots doing a song for Nina Simone. It was spectacular. The women slayed it on this show.
Wow.
So cool. So the finale was off the chains.
There was no big finale.
Ah,
I know.
why?
Is that the news? Is that the shocker?
Maybe there will be one
Yeah.
in post. We have to wait and see the broadcast. They can build
Did
to
Paul
that.
Schaefer storm off in a huff?
No, Paul's
Okay.
the greatest.
I
love
know.
Paul.
He's so sweet.
Paul, he was in charge of the Nina Simone tribute.
Okay.
So he works with Brittany Howard and Felicia Collins, who just shreds.
I love
She's
her.
Did
amazing.
Will Lee play this year? Will Lee,
I
the
didn't
bassist?
see
was-
Will Lee.
Okay.
I did not see Will Lee. But so that was part of the excitement there.
So do you get nervous?
When I'm doing a show like that?
Yeah.
I think it gets exciting. Not particularly nervous, mostly because it's not live.
Oh.
It's, we're going to edit it down to 3 hours from a 4-something.
Yeah. So you can be
Yeah,
like, can I do that
concert.
again? And they're like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, when I'm live, I'm live. Hopefully I get the words right from the page to the mic. But yeah, I mean, when you ask, do I get nervous? I think like anyone else that's about to do a live performance, there are nerves, but you use them to sort of steel yourself and go for it. Gives you
Excellent.
energy.
And you're off to the Tonys?
The Tonys, my 20th consecutive year announcing the
Wow.
Tony Awards. Yeah, I'm really excited. So that'll be.
Can I be your date?
You spend time in New York, don't you?
I do.
Yeah. So we do have a Sunday rehearsal, just saying. It's really cool. And that will be Sunday, June 10th, my 20th. And we don't even know who's nominated yet. So
Oh, really? When is that announced?
I don't know. Soon.
All
I was
right.
going
It's
to. I
the
was
gay
going to
Oscars.
Google
I
it.
should know that.
Yeah.
Maybe one of your viewers will Google it for us and say
Yeah.
nominees for the 2018 Tonys.
Yeah, I get pretty religious about the Tonys
Mm-hmm.
because
you
know,
do? Tell me about that.
Yeah, because you would have no access to any of these shows if you're not buying a ticket to go see the shows. They really keep them. There's nothing. They don't allow anybody to sneak in.
They
So
don't
there-
send screeners out.
True.
There's no screeners, and so if you want to know what's in Evan Hansen, what is it? It's like it's so mysterious. So you have to watch the Tonys to just get a window of it. And if someone walks in and wants to talk to you, it's just like, no, you need to. You have to be rude. No, you need to stop talking. I'm watching a song from Evan Hansen. Like,
Right.
stop. I'm serious. Just
And how great was the music from
Oh, my
Dear Evan
gosh.
Hansen?
I saw it only
You
because
did.
of a blizzard. We got tickets.
It was
wow.
incredible.
Unbelievable.
Vicky sees a lot of shows.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, I don't get to see all the shows, believe it or not, because I have to pay for my own tickets.
Yeah,
So
and it's pretty
I have to
pricey.
limit it, and I usually pick one show a year.
What'd you see this year?
Springsteen, I think he's got to get nominated this year,
Yeah.
right? Did you
Yeah.
see it?
I did not. Although he's
Those
just
tickets are-
extended.
It's been extended?
Yeah.
The tickets are $1 million. Like you have to mortgage your house to go see Springsteen.
Talk about things online. Did you see the video from 2 nights ago of Bruce dancing with his mother in a little club in New Jersey?
No.
If
I
you
love
guys
that.
can find it, it's phenomenal. It was on Facebook, but he was his little white-haired mom, and he was dancing with her. It was so cute.
Is she okay?
So sweet.
She was good.
It wasn't rough dancing. It was like, she's good.
It was the cutest thing.
Randy, your career is insane. It's just so inspiring. And what do you personally do to help other female aspiring voiceover artists?
Well, once a year I put on an event called Voiceover Mastery. The last 2 years have been in LA. We'll have our 3rd year. The first 2 years were in Fort Myers, Florida, where I was living at the time. And then we moved it here to LA because I live back here now. And so I provide an opportunity to bring the best coaches. Joe Cipriano always comes to my events.
He's
and
pretty
he
good.
coaches. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
He's been around a little bit. So I put them in touch with the proper coach for the genre that they're interested in. I coach, but my expertise is promo, radio imaging, live announce. I can't teach you commercials. That's not what I do. I mean, I can teach beginners anything, but if you're really trying to focus in on the genre, I would not be the right coach for you. So, but what do? When young women that are even old women that want to do this work, if they ask me to
Springsteen's
mentor
mom,
them, Bruce's mom, she wrote me last week, actually.
She wants to.
She
Wants
said,
to break in.
so I told her she's got to work on that, New Jersey accent.
Right,
that's,
right,
That's
right.
the
She'll
only
get
thing
that.
holding her back.
Yeah.
I mentor women and I advise and I help. And, the voiceover community is a pretty close community. It's really interesting. Unlike the acting community,
Right.
they don't really support each other so much.
That's interesting. So you have a podcast
I do.
that you do with your husband.
Yes. So I
Yes.
used to be a DJ. I was in radio many years ago, and I played rock and roll music most of my career. My last radio station was The Wave, so that's sort of. But I decided to get into podcasting about a year ago. I went to a conference that Joel Denver puts on called Worldwide Radio Show. Is that what it is? WWRS at the W Hotel. It's in May. And I went and I looked at all the conference people talking about podcasting. And I thought, you know what? I want to do that. I'm an old broadcaster. I'm an old broad. But I like the thought of having conversations about telling stories and finding out people's stories. So we partnered with Music Connection magazine, and we are telling the stories of the artists that I didn't know who they were until we started this podcast. Vance Joy, Greta Van Fleet, these kids out of Michigan, they're 16 and 19, they're brothers. They sound like they've been playing together for 30 years, and they sound like Led Zeppelin. It's incredible. James Bay was just on this. So we're talking to young, incredible artists. And then we also talk to folks like Don Was, who's produced every Rolling Stones album in the last 25 years.
There's your podcast.
Oh, there you go. So the Music Connection podcast, this past week was at NAB.
Yeah, we saw you.
Yes, I stopped by Joe, and he was live on
Yes.
your TIFO.
She was on last week's show because Joe was on the Zoom, and Randy stopped by, and she had just on her podcast live from the NAB. So we've come full circle.
We
We
really
have many
have.
more circles to go. But you're on Podcast One, which is Norm Pattis's podcasting network. So how does that work? Are you also on iTunes? What happens?
Well, because of the RSS, we're everywhere. So you can access the podcast everywhere. You can even access us in Libsyn, which is your home.
We're on Libsyn too.
Yeah. So, but I like the thought that they're actually going to make apps. I don't want people to have to go into iTunes or this place or that. Just download the app, and there's the podcast waiting for you every week.
So you think people want a separate app for every podcast they listen to?
I think if you have fans that will check you out, because, okay, so I like to say that podcasts are like craft beer. Like, how do you find a good one? There's so many. And then when you find it, how do you find it again? If you listen to 50 podcasts and you go back into iTunes, my podcast might not be the first one that pops up for you. It's whichever one you've listened to
Okay.
most recently. So I do like the idea of having an app.
Okay.
I think, why not? Double your audience
All right.
potential.
Because Libsyn does offer that, but I just thought, everyone gets their podcasts at iTunes.
But doesn't it bother you on Libsyn that when they go in to listen to your podcast, they can only see that one episode? You've got to go out.
I think I paid for a higher tier.
Oh.
No, because
This
I
podcast is
went.
brought to you by Libsyn.
Yes.
I went in and I looked, and it's just the latest one. I went to Libsyn, and I only saw your most recent podcast.
Oh.
So then you have to back out of it in order to...
And I didn't know how to back out of it to
Right.
see like a full.
I thought you just went to your phone and just find the podcast you want and just click it.
There you go.
Yeah, it's like you think of Libsyn as just being the site that sort of pushes your podcast out to all the other places where people get their podcasts, but people don't really come to Libsyn to find podcasts.
Correct.
But yeah, there's just so much to learn. It's really hard.
Right. So Norm invested a ton of money in creating the Podcast One app, and all of the podcasts are housed in that app. So I think that makes it a little bit easier. But why would I want you to go to Podcast One and see all these other podcasts? I'd much rather push out my social media, show you who's on the show this week, and say, download our app, boom. And then every week, it's just easier to press an app, don't you think?
Yes, and once we master this, let's teach a class. So that because there's just really
Voiceover and podcast mastery. There's
Yes.
the next
yes.
event.
So how are you going to get your podcast app developed?
Oh, they do. Libsyn will make
they
an app
offer
for
They
you.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to make it really affordable for everyone. So I haven't looked into it, but I thought it would be a good idea because I love the idea that you have video. You know, my mom, who, God bless her, she's 95 years old. She listens to my podcast every week. She's like, I just wish I could see you on video. It would be so much better, you know? So, and I agree. Maybe, and especially if we've got rock stars in the studio, who wouldn't want to be looking at James Bay? He is a perfect
I
human.
wouldn't not. So in the studio, I don't, sometimes I say things that crack up the booth, and I don't even know what about it was funny because it was just me being awkward. In the studio, we have Greg Copewhite. Look how I had to read your name off a piece of paper. Isn't that funny?
Yeah, why'd you look down for that?
I don't know. I think I needed to know what came next in the show. And then my brain went, you're acting like you don't know his name. Constantly judging myself. Greg Copewhite is here, and he's an author / TV writer. Which of your credits do you prefer? Which is your favorite?
Well, I've got a movie. I'm starting a movie that I just sold in the summer. So that I guess I just say screenwriter now because that covers TV and screen.
Yeah, screenwriter.
Everything's available on
Anything
some screen.
that has a screen.
But yes, I got my start in TV, and I love it. Norman Lear's podcast is on Podcast One.
Yes.
So
Norman
I was
Lear.
part of inducting him at the Kennedy Center.
Oh, nice.
great.
Oh
Great,
my
great,
gosh,
great.
you're
Incredible.
everywhere.
Well, I didn't get to induct him, but I said his name.
Oh,
You said
nice.
his name. Did you get to try on one of those, like, what is that they wear around their
The
neck?
medal?
It's
Yeah.
very
Oh.
festooned.
Yeah.
No, I have not. but
It's a
that's
ribbon
pretty
with a
awesome.
medal on the end.
Yeah,
just,
it's a ribbon with a medal at the end.
but
So
the author is fun too because I think that was I always wanted to do that. I didn't grow up thinking I wanted to be a television writer, a screenwriter. Grew up thinking I was going to be a writer. An author is to me sort of the nicest of those.
yeah, because it's hard to write a book
So many words. Oh my gosh.
all in a row too that you're supposed to put them.
Well, somebody else does that for you. I
Okay.
didn't know that was going to happen.
I'll remember that next time I write a book. I think we've all written books, all four of us, maybe even more people. Thomas, have you written a book? No?
Get
All
on
right.
it.
Unfortunately not.
Slacker.
Get on it.
So, what can you say? I know that some of what we were talking about pre-show, where you were like lips locked, can't.
Well, I think the formal announcement will come out soon. I think that should come out from the executive producers. But you know, it's more about people that may not understand the process of a story being brought to screen, where it's not easy. It does take years. I think a lot of people think they're just going to write a spec script, and that spec script's going to be great, and somebody's going to say, we're going to shoot that movie in the fall. It can go to a lot of places. This script that is going, certainly had its share of no's from big studios. I wrote this movie with my writing partner while I was on book tour for Pink Marine. And I always have like 3 or 4 things going at the same time, just trying to, it's like throwing biscuits against the wall and seeing which one's going to pop open with a surprise. So you just keep projects going. And then, so we finished this, we shopped it around in 2017, and we just found a buyer this year for it. So
Congratulations.
thanks. And then that being said, that's now almost put to bed from the writing standpoint. We had to already start a bunch of other stuff. So and we've written a fun pilot. We were just talking about it because it has an Instagram influencer in it. And I would love that to go. And then the pilot for Pink Marine, we constantly work on that. That gets shopped around. And we're just looking for a couple of elements on that. But that's because it's a project that I know really well, and I know I want to tell more stories that are in the book. That's certainly the project that I really want to go more than any.
You were a Marine. I was whoa, that's
Impressive,
serious.
isn't it?
Yep.
6 years, I loved it. I had a great time. I really had a good time.
You
I
rose
got a
to
book out of it.
sergeant?
Sergeant in the enlisted ranks, yeah.
Wow. Excellent.
How many push-ups can you do today?
All of them.
Good answer.
In a row.
In a row. Randy. And then with us is Vicki Abelson, who is my talk show friend. And I'm your talk show co-pilot.
You're my wing woman.
Yeah. And we do the show. And Vicki, talk about the show because we have had some adventures.
It makes me crazy because every single week, Louise and I say, that was the best show we have ever. And we have now done 88 shows. We have done 88 shows,
You
Louise.
win.
That's a lot of shows.
We did, for a year, we did it in this studio when it started out with John. It started out as a radio show and then became a podcast. I was writing Louise all day, not a podcast. I'm calling it a talk show because video is the main thrust of my show. It's very visual. We sit still, but somehow it's very visual.
So do you feel that saying podcast limits the fact
Yes.
that people don't think there's video
Yes.
involved?
For me, podcast, there are a gazillion podcasts, right? But to me, there aren't a gazillion talk shows. And I think of myself as a talk show host, not
Vicki,
a
there's
podcaster.
a gazillion talk shows hosted by someone named Jimmy.
Well, this is true, but it's also the vision that I have for the show and where it's going to go, and so I see it as a talk show, as a visual talk show, and that's what we are.
Yeah, that's her
And
vision for it. She's very good at visualizing.
I'm very good at visualizing, but I also believe that having sort of a brand is important. So it's a broadcast. You were making fun of that before, but that is the moniker, and it's been great having Louise. So yeah, it's called The Road Taken: Celebrity Maps to Success, and basically we talk to people that are living their dream, that have managed to merge creativity and commerce and make their dreams come true. And so we cull their tools. How did you do it? Like last week we had Barry Katz on. Barry Katz is not famous. Usually our guests are famous. Barry's not famous, but Barry has done 100 deals. He has sold 100
I think I know. He's
projects.
a manager, right?
He's a manager.
Yes,
He's
I've heard
managed Dave Chappelle and Mark Maron and Whitney, every comic pretty much. And but what he did which was so generous, is usually we go into the artist's story. We didn't do that last week. I asked him one question about himself, and he was off and running on tools,
Advice,
and how to do it. And it was
stories.
It was brilliant. I mean, he really did give a roadmap for success.
He was fascinating.
He was fascinating. He said, if you want to make it, be an A. So that works if you're a Lyft driver, if you're a real estate agent, whatever you are, be an A.
Right.
And it's just great advice. So that's what the show kind of is because I'm still trying to figure out how to find my highest success. And so every week when we talk to these guests, I learn. I learn stuff.
Yeah, we
and
learn
my
a
shirt,
lot.
and I'm if I don't do it that way, I'm just going to start taking
She wants
it
a
off.
peekaboo
You
shoulder.
Peekaboo.
That's what she's going for.
You've
Yeah.
learned for sure.
Yeah. So it's been fascinating, and my favorite adventure with Vicki, because sometimes we go to people's houses.
Oh, God.
Sometimes they're expecting us. But we went to Ed Asner's.
Right
and
before
it's going to be
Christmas.
difficult to top that because
Amazing.
Well, we might next week, Louise, because we're going to Paula Poundstone's house, and
We
so
are?
and she has 14 cats.
You'll
She
be in
has
my
a lot of
neighborhood. You'll be right in
cats.
my neighborhood.
It's a good thing you're not allergic, huh?
She's
No, I'm not.
14 cats, and she told me she make believe it doesn't smell. It does, but make believe that it doesn't.
I can do
and
that.
We need to bring the lights. But anyway, we're going
Yeah.
to Paula's house.
I
so
bought lights.
And she has a ping pong table, and I want to play. So that might be part of the show.
Oh, yeah.
But when we went to Ed's house, it was right before Christmas, and I asked him to wear a little Santa hat, which he did the entire show.
Yeah.
But he was also wearing little shorts and little
And
Uggs.
Uggs.
And in the middle of the show, his son-in-law came in and said, Dad, do you want pizza? And we ordered pizza. We ate pizza.
He had
we
pizza on his lap. He got up and went to the bathroom in the middle of the show and then
Yes.
came back.
It was fantastic.
The dog came in and sat on his lap and licked his face. It was all going on.
And this was all. Oh,
This was
you
all-
don't go live on
Yeah,
Facebook.
it was
we
live.
are live.
It
and so,
was live.
and-
And then there was a moment where he started hacking,
oh no, the best part.
and someone wrote the comment, I can see the headline tomorrow, TV legend dies.
Hacked to death.
I was trying not to laugh.
No, my favorite part of
Because
the
you can read the comments.
my favorite part of the broadcast was Louise was looking on her phone at something. Now I don't know if she was looking at the comments or if she was, reading her emails, but all of a sudden
starts screaming at
no,
me.
he goes, Louise, and he did that like that Mr. Grant kind of yell at her, and he scared the fuck out of both. Oh, am I allowed to curse on here?
Yes.
He
Why
scared
not?
the hell out of Louise and I
so
just
grumpy. Oh, it was the best.
It was fantastic. So
Anyway.
and so that's great because we get to go into their environs and we get so you're not only getting them but you're getting their whole thing.
Yeah, Eric Roberts' house. That was great.
There's no lights in there. They like to keep it dim.
It's very dim.
Everyone should look good.
That drives me crazy,
Very
by the
dark.
way.
Me
When
too.
you can't get enough light,
Yeah.
it drives me crazy.
Horrible.
Like, I get really angry. Like,
Well,
can
we
you
just bought
turn on
lights.
the
Louise just
light?
bought
Yeah,
lights.
we're going to just have them with us wherever we go.
I have
in case we have-
dimmers literally on either
Dimmers,
every
yes.
wall or
Yes.
dimmers everywhere.
Yeah, but you
Even
know
in
what
the
we
kitchen.
learned? You know what we learned about lighting from your friend Lydia Cornell?
What?
Is that more
Oh,
lighting
yes.
is flattering, but you have to know how to aim it. So I'm gonna watch a YouTube tutorial about lighting.
It's actually Lydia taught us
Yeah.
is that it really has to come at you at eye level.
Okay.
Like ours were coming down,
Yeah.
and that's not flattering.
Shadows
And up is not flattering, but straight,
straight
at,
at you.
That's,
Okay,
that's
so
what we
we're-
want.
We're always looking to improve. And so where do we go from here? So we're going to do some news diving because I have a really excellent panel and we have a lot to discuss.
Okay.
So does everyone know how the internet works in China? Does anyone know? Like if you go to China, they will take your phone and then give it back to you when you leave China. You're not allowed to go to China and use your
Wow.
devices.
I got a
Really?
new
Is this a
passport
new
last
rule?
week, and
Yeah.
I smiled in my picture. And I was at an agency, not the passport office, so I took several different takes of my passport picture. And the one that I chose, I'm smiling really big. So I said to the guy, "Is this a problem? I'm smiling." He said, "Just in China, they think it's rude if you show up with a smiling passport." And
Is
I
that
said,
true?
Wow.
I said, "That's okay. I'm not planning on
Not
going
going
this
to
year."
China. All right, so here's how the internet works in China. All of our platforms are banned in China, and instead they have their own government-monitored version. So, for example, instead of WhatsApp, they have WeChat. Rather than Google, they use Baidu. They have Youku, filling in for YouTube, and instead of Twitter, they have something called Weibo. I don't know if I'm pronouncing these correctly, but on Friday, Weibo announced that they would be removing LGBTQ-related content in order to create a sunny and harmonious community environment. But then the gays sprung into action using the hashtags I am gay and I am gay, not a pervert. They posted their stories and photos of their families. The hashtags generated over 500,000 posts, which were viewed by more than 530 million people. The protest reached Twitter with screen caps because I guess there's ways that you can screen cap it and then send it to a friend in another country. And on Monday, China removed the ban. Homosexuality is not illegal in China. It was only decriminalized in 1997, but there are limited protections against LGBTQ discrimination in the country. As The Guardian points out, LGBTQ communities have largely been forced to stay underground, with only 5% of people in China who are gay or LGBTQ publicly out. According to this UN survey, conversion therapy still exists in China.
And in the U.S.
Right, but more in China.
You can apply everything that you just said with a much lower percentage number
Right,
to the United States of America. You can read that exact same statement
Wow.
and replace it with the U.S. and just lower the stats.
But
we're
we're-
not safe here either.
But we're talking about change and sometimes evolution, and sometimes it doesn't even happen in one person's lifetime. But do you think that these hashtags and people standing up and saying, I won't live in shame, is that helpful I think it is.
Yes.
I think so
I
too.
think it
I'm,
Didn't they just
I'm
take it
amazed
down right
actually
away?
that they were able
You
to
would
do that.
tweet that, and then it would get taken down.
Right, but it eventually they backed down and they removed the ban.
So
So
was
the
good
whole
social
weekend-
activism work.
It shows that the people's voice actually made something happen. Which how else can the people of China show their leaders how they're feeling about things? The fact that they're even given these social networks, I don't know if they come and find you. They know your IP. They know where you live. If you put anything that they disagree with, but I think that sounds positive.
I
It
think it was
helps.
so
It's
many
good.
people were using the hashtags that they maybe had a meeting and said, "Okay, Stan, you're probably gay, but what do you know? I mean, what should we do? Should we try? You can't fight 10% of your population. That's too many people.
Yeah.
So assuming the number's that low, it may be higher. So if people were bold enough to say, "I'm using this hashtag, let them come find me," one person standing up is scary, but a million people standing up makes you feel braver.
I think it's how change happens.
Yes.
Yeah, it has to start. Look, if you throw the tiniest pebble in the largest ocean, it causes a ripple.
The Chinese internet is severely censored. A new law outlines 68 things you cannot say on China's social media. The guidelines ban material that depicts excessive drinking or gambling, that sensationalizes bizarre or grotesque criminal cases, that ridicules China's historical revolutionary leaders or current members of the army, police, or judiciary, or that publicizes the luxury life. Detailed plots involving prostitution, rape, and masturbation are also forbidden. So are displays of unhealthy marital values, which the guidelines catalog as affairs, one-night stands, partner swapping, and simply but vaguely sexual liberation. So all this comes on the heels of Xi Jinping declaring himself ruler for life. So I don't know if it's that unlike what they've already been living with in China. It's interesting. It's the largest country population-wise, and we know very little about it, nor do we complain about this type of hold that their leaders have over their people, because we kind of have always accepted it. If you grew up with the Iron Curtain, you kind of just accepted that people in China and Russia didn't have the rights that you have. But as we're all sort of moving forward through time, and the internet is making it possible for us to have a closer view of other people's lives and whatever their liberties are, do you think that the world is going to come together and say, we'll help you guys, we'll help pull you guys forward, and maybe your leaders will have to listen? Like this boycott or this hashtag weekend could be a signpost that leads to more change in places like China, maybe not Russia yet, but what do you guys think of the power of the internet as a whole globally?
Are they able to see our stuff? Is there like a black market where they can see our Facebook or anything?
That's a good question.
I mean, I'd really like to know that, because I know even censorship here, as Greg was saying, like the numbers are just different, are just lower. When Facebook first started, I believe I was one of the first people to, without asterisks, use the word fuck on Facebook. And it was like a big controversy 10 years ago. And I was also one of the first columnists to use it on the Huffington Post. And the editors tried to change it. And then I would go in and fight with them. And now everybody uses it on both platforms. But the way change happens is that people refuse to back down. So I love the fact that they're doing this in China. And I think it is going to impact moving forward, that things are going to change. And do they need our interference for that to happen? I don't know that they do. There must be some black market where they're getting ours. How would they know to stand up and do this if they weren't getting a sense that this was being pioneered elsewhere? I would imagine.
Well, I guess that's why they had to take away Americans' phones, because we go there, we show them, oh, see, we have this, and they're like, no, you can't see that anymore. But I do think that it's the youth that are going to be inspired in every country to stand up for what's important, just like the youth of our country. I don't want to get into a big political thing, but had things gone a different way 2 years ago, our youth would have said just more of the same, and they would have stayed uninvolved. I think having a different president that represents all of these things that drive us crazy, we now have kids that are growing up and using their voices in a way that they never would have. So,
It's when you're most challenged, you become most involved.
sure.
So, and growing up in China, I would have to think that there's some technological geniuses who have figured out how to look at.
They have to.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
definitely,
They
they're
have
definitely
Well, they
is.
know how to rip
And they-
everything else off of ours.
They have the
So-
dark web, and I think if they have access to Skype, then they can
Right.
talk to their friends here. And
Do they have access to Skype?
What do you
now?
think,
I
Thomas?
think so.
I have some friends that have told me that they definitely you just have to go on the dark web,
The
quote
dark
unquote.
web. There you
But
go.
yeah, you
There's
can
a
do it.
dark
It's just
web?
like illegal,
There's a
and
dark
if you get
web.
Where
caught,
do you
you're
think
in
porn
big
And
trouble.
lives?
what happens to someone?
Everywhere.
That's where
So what happens to someone in
cryptocurrency-
China who gets caught using the dark web?
I don't know. I think they would just be arrested. I'm not really sure, but I
Is
I
that
just had the
all?
one friend that mentioned it.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think they go into the dark web.
Wow.
But we have some news that's not as distressing. Well, maybe it is distressing in a different way. 20-year-old Bella Thorne bought a mansion using Instagram. She makes $65,000 for each of her Instagram posts. Do you have that article? There she is. So that's adorable, but I wouldn't pay her $65,000.
Right.
But she carefully curates her image, and so she markets herself to advertisers, or do we know exactly how this works?
There's agencies that take care of all this. There's ad agencies that know which influencers that they want. It's part of an ad budget now. How much are we going to spend? And I want to say it's not just that they're getting paid for that. When we cast a movie, we certainly look at the person's talent first off,
And their social.
and their
And
match.
their social
But we're
media.
also looking at their social media but not just their numbers, but what do they share? Some celebrities have huge social media followings and they don't promote their things.
Or they don't
But
have
it is part of
interaction. Interaction is so
Yeah,
important.
and we do want them to promote. And you do want that conversation to happen. So
It's interesting how every different person has a different relationship with social media. Everyone I've ever met has a different their own unique relationship with social media, and because it hits every area of security and insecurity in us. And so it's a reflection of what we're willing to share, how we want people to see us, how we want to see ourselves.
Right.
Because you're going to have to look at it every day. And if it's going to trigger your own insecurities, you just know, like, I'm not doing that. People manage their lives in different ways, and it's like just a whole other layer or many different layers of something that every day we have to manage. And so some people are really comfortable with it. They're really comfortable engaging. And some people are like, well, I'll have Instagram, but it's going to be on lockdown, and I'm only going to follow people I know. And some people are like, well, I'm taking out, it's just so different for every person. Do you guys find that to be true?
I just heard something last week that I thought was a nice thing about running your social media, and it said try to write things and share things not as if you're speaking to an unknown audience, but as if you're really speaking to your closest friends and family. Use that voice.
I
And
like
thought that's
that.
a nice
I like
idea.
that. That's helpful. You treat everyone like, okay, if you're in this world with me, you're my friend.
Right.
But the other factor is that some people have a really uncomfortable relationship with technology, and they just don't want to have these learning curves in front of them every day where I have to figure out. Like Vicky has people over every week, and she'll ask them to share, and we've seen all different levels of comfort
Sharing
with
and
that.
engagement.
Like, oh, my assistant does this for me, or my wife does this for me, or they're just all over it. Like,
Well,
God, I
what
got this.
also makes me hysterical is that people think that they get appalled that their stuff is being, that their rights are being violated. Once we put anything up on the internet in any fashion, that is public information. Who thinks that stuff gets private? Even if we private message somebody, direct message them, once you're putting it on the internet, that's not private
Yeah.
conversation. That's public
scary.
conversation.
You really have to think about what you're actually, because I imagine the day when the Facebook messages, someone's going to break it open and all the Facebook messages are going to be out there, the private messages.
Yeah, I think
And that's where,
Yeah, my rule of thumb is that if I have anything even remotely uncomfortable, like a work-related uncomfortable thing to share, I use the phone. I don't ever type something that couldn't get forwarded to everybody.
yeah,
That's just my rule
I've
of thumb.
been bitten in the ass by that.
Have you? Yeah. I mean, and most people John Podesta have been. You know, there shouldn't be anything in writing that couldn't be all over the New York Times tomorrow, because I am that newsworthy on the daily.
Right.
So yeah, it's a very interesting.
I want to know
And
how
it's
these
also
people,
generational.
Oh,
how-
yeah.
I want to know how these people become influencers. This is the thing I still don't understand.
Why Bella Thorne is an influencer?
Is it lightning in a bottle? Did she do one thing that like blew her up?
Yes.
Or is that what it is? What was hers? Do you know what hers was?
I have no idea what it is, but I just know that that's typically how it starts.
I like so don't understand because I can't figure it out.
I think you need a really cute poodle.
I should tell people I'm getting fired from being an Amazon influencer. If you're listening, Amazon.
Wait, what?
Why?
Because I don't know. They reached out last year and said, "Hey, do you want to be an Amazon influencer on Instagram?" And I wrote back and I said, "I don't really have that kind of an audience or interaction that you're probably looking for." I said, "I don't have 10,000 followers. I use Instagram all the time, by the way, but I don't have 10,000 followers. And if you have 10,000 followers, when you do an Instagram story, you can swipe up and add a link. If I had that kind of following, I would post a product because I cook all the time. And obviously there's products that I love that I would love people to buy, and I could make 8 to 9% on that. So first they started an influencer
Wait a minute! I have
program
over
with-
10,000. I don't know how to swipe up and thank you.
See, wait, this is so funny. So they
Class is
offered
in
it to
session.
him,
So
but he
they offered
doesn't
it to
have
me.
and doesn't do it.
Right.
So it's-
But they didn't offer it to her, but she has it and she wants to do
But
it.
So I
here we
said
are
to them-
together, so it
Right.
works.
Well, I'm on television sometimes for Food Network, so I think that's probably what they found.
No,
So-
I think that's perfect because they associate all of the products, especially the kitchen and cooking products and fashion or whatever, that you're an expert and an influencer in. And the fact that they just changed the rule now.
So
with Amazon, they've got it. We have to pay taxes now, where
What?
before you might not have, and that's
Oh, I
So
blame
they're
Mitch
trying to level the
McConnell.
playing ground between online buying and brick and mortar.
Hasn't that been a thing for a long time now? The tax?
It depends on your state. If you
okay.
live in one state and it's coming from another state, you pay the tax. So they wrote me. That was last year. They said be an Amazon influencer, and they said you build a page and you put it on, and I did, and I put a few things I loved, like my favorite $5,000 cappuccino machine that a friend of mine has. And I'm like, I would like that one day. So I did it, and I kept telling. I said, just know that I can't put a link in my Instagram post, my regular posts. I can't put a link. Nothing clicks in there, and. They said, no, you'll be fine. We want you. You can use it you can do Twitter, Facebook, whatever. It's all the same. Everything gets linked back. So last week they wrote me and they said, we're probably going to disinvite you from the influencer program because you haven't done anything. I'm like, I told you I can't do it.
Wow.
I don't know that they are
But it
going
hurts
to,
when
but-
they uninvite.
Yeah.
Really.
Yes, if I was making money or anything, it would hurt. I don't. I'm
But
not
you would
gonna
have made
feel
money,
it.
yes? Wouldn't that be part of the deal?
Yes, had I had the following that I could include links to, and also I don't really unless it's my book or something I want you to watch that I wrote on, I don't really promote any. I have nothing to promote, so I doubt that my friends on Facebook would like me to say, here's the rice cooker I just used. I actually don't use a rice cooker.
Of course we would.
So it's a numbers game, for
It's a
those
numbers
guys.
game. And if I was Bella Thorne and had all those people, I would certainly put the $5,000 cappuccino machine, and that company would also send me a free $5,000
Yes,
cappuccino
they
machine.
would.
And then
All
I'd
right.
make a 9%. So anyway, just to say that's my
And one
feeling
last thing about what
sponsorships.
Vicky was saying too, like how do these people get so popular and become so influential, and so many of them aren't known for doing that much else other than being influencers.
I don't know
right?
anything
Yeah.
that they do other than the fact that they are influencers. And why are people listening to them? They have no lives. All they do is sit and video themselves. I don't understand it.
Well,
Well,
maybe
but you have to look at the
Dina
demographic.
Dina knows the
Their lives
answer.
or their
But what's
their
the answer?
product.
Yes.
You have to talk into a microphone, Dina, or you can't influence anybody.
I don't have all the answers, but I mean, I think that the easiest answer is that these people are really good at marketing, and they're good at marketing themselves, and that translates to them being good at selling products. So it's like, for example, how you guys were saying, like, oh, I have a guest on, like Vicky has a guest on her podcast, and that person,
Her
like,
talk show.
oh my God.
All right.
Oh my God,
Please,
Dina.
please
How long have you been
forgive
in
me.
class?
Please forgive me.
We just went over that.
It's a
On
talk show.
A talk show. And she told me about this earlier too, and
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm sorry. I
Yep.
won't make that mistake.
Please.
And they
That's
don't
right.
even know like how to like share something on their,
Right.
social media. So the social media influencer is like the exact opposite of that.
They're a
They know
magnet of it.
exactly how to do it, to whom, at what time,
What
in
hashtags.
what scenario. They'll never, like I do, I'm a social media freelancer, and I've worked with people who, like, we're doing cross promotion. They put like the wrong tag, the wrong account, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a frequent thing. A lot of people don't know how to use social media. That will never be an issue with an influencer. They hit all the boxes.
But then there are people like Louise and Greg, myself, and I'm sure you as well, who do know how to use social media, but I do not. I am not influencing anyone. I am influencing.
We're
a
sort of
niche.
like
It's just
in
the
the-
new
Being
reality
thought
TV. It's just the new
of
reality
as an influencer
TV.
and then
We're-
failing at that.
Well,
That's
we're
my
not.
story.
Also, we're not the right age group of
Correct.
of
Right,
people who are in a pool where everyone's looking for who to look at.
Right.
Right.
Okay, but
And we've already
yeah.
figured out who to look
Right.
at. We're kind of done.
And
like
our
unless you're
peers
Redford, I'm really
are
not
not
looking at you.
influenced.
And in that age group of 20-year-old Bella Thorne, our peers are like, "Oh, you cooked eggs, okay." But Bella Thorne, her age group is like, "Who do we look at? Who do we look at? How do I know? How do I know who to be?"
Yeah.
And they're starving for it.
Right.
So
They're very ripe
it's like
for-
They're
protons
thirsty.
being
is the
attracted
phrase,
to
I think.
Right.
the exact right
And they're easy to sell to.
conductor of energy, and
So-
she
Yeah,
and
but
she
do they have
figured
any
out how to
money?
conduct that
That's
energy.
the question. Do they really?
I mean, they do have some. They have enough that, like, like I watch a lot of like YouTube videos, and they're always like the makeup like tutorial girls. They're always sending them like free products, and there's a reason for that. Like that would not be happening if people weren't.
we need to
Greg.
do a how-to.
Yeah, Greg, we should do a cappuccino tutorial, and then we'll get that cappuccino maker.
Yeah, but
it'll
she-
just come in
It's
the
a
mail.
great machine.
Yeah, we'll just keep making coffee every week until someone sends us a coffee maker.
And we're connected on Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff. So
This is really not a
they
bad
know
idea.
I want the machine.
It's really not.
Tina's like-
if you really focus on like the coffee make it, and you totally
should
make
put-
it like a lifestyle thing.
we should put it right on my
And,
desk and make coffee every
use,
week.
Like all the visual.
There you
I mean,
go.
I have a Keurig. We'll just plug it in right here.
But see, but we're not
Free
the
pot.
right demo. They don't think that we. But I disagree with this. Facebook is billions of people. It is not the influencers who are on Facebook. My
Right.
kids are on Snapchat, Instagram,
Right, yeah.
YouTube. They don't
Influencers.
care about Facebook. We are the people on Facebook. We
Yeah.
are the people who are influencing
I'm
on
sorry,
Facebook.
I have not bought Snapchat stock because that will explode. That is the next thing.
yeah.
Forget
Next
about
thing, my kids have been on
Snapchat's on its
my
way
kids have
out.
been on
No, I think
Snapchat
it's
for
They're
a
over.
taking
It's
year.
already on its way
Snapchat
out.
to a whole new level.
Oh,
It
they
will
do.
be the
I
next thing.
do not
couple-
believe it
yeah.
will ever get our
I
generation.
think if we get sponsors, what it's going to be, sadly, is the sponsors at MSNBC and CNN. It's going to have a lot of side effects, whatever it is we're talking about, because that's who watches Facebook and that's who watches CNN. And it's going to be the chair that goes up the stairs.
I'm going to
It's
start
gonna be-
posting links to Amazon
It's going to be
products for the next
spine
week and just see
surgery
if I
with
can
very
save
little bit of
my-
an incision.
Save my influencer status.
No, but that's
The
who
alert
they're
bracelet.
like our age group. That's who advertisers. That's the products that are looking for people. Like readers that magnify something. Or, yeah,
And light up in the dark.
Well,
You're gonna-
actually,
the little blue pill.
influencers on Facebook have been like those video creators who will make like the recipe video where they show you like they have the camera on it and they show you like all the steps like sped up.
So I just want to say that I had asked my Facebook Live was blurry for 2 weeks and we were really
Oh,
frustrated because we didn't know
yeah.
it. So I asked Louise to please do a test video for me. So Ronnie made eggs.
Yes.
And I just want to say it's the highest watched video Louise has had. Ronnie cooking eggs.
I have no
I saw
idea.
that video.
Were they poached?
It was fantastic.
But
No,
you know
he-
what's great about it is
he made
Ronnie.
eggs.
Ronnie was just being himself.
Yes,
he
it was
he wasn't
fabulous.
trying to impress
But he's
anybody.
an influencer
Fabulous.
now.
He is an influencer. He is an egg influencer.
Everybody wanted
Authenticity
eggs.
is
Like I
key.
had to drive eggs over to a lot of people.
And he was doing what you said. He was just being himself.
Yeah.
Talking just like
And that's
to
what
you
they
guys.
they do. That's what they
I
do.
think I'm going to do a tutorial where I show people how to open up the pill container with the different days of the week, and then we can get like the pill caddy to sponsor us.
Yes.
Yeah, we should just accept this is what we're going after.
Why don't we just go ahead and say depends?
All right, so we have a lot more ground to cover. Who's addicted to online shopping? Anybody? Show of hands.
Addicted is an
Addicted,
interesting
no.
word.
No interest.
But do you guys feel like they're trying to get you to click over to the shopping cart and then over to purchase? Do you feel like they're trying to like hook us and make us feel like that there's some sort of time running out, or if you don't buy it right now, you can't have it, or even on Amazon it'll say only 2 left. No, there's only 2 left because that's what it says every time.
That's a total manipulation.
Yeah.
I know because they're doing it with my book. They tease with the number. That's all crap.
I live on a really charming street. I live on Montana Avenue, around the corner from Montana Avenue in Santa Monica.
I am
And
stalking you now.
Fancy.
Thank you
that
for the information. I'll
you've
be
been
there.
and you'll be there for Paula next week.
Yes.
But I love that street is charming, and it's like Columbus Avenue in New York. I hate that every store is closing. I had 3 friends, personal friends, that just happened to open stores on Montana that all have closed in the past 6 months.
Oh.
And so I am almost anti-online shopping. I've done it, and I do it. I'll order something on Amazon, absolutely.
I
no.
I have to say also, as an author for books, I use this little bookstore in Montrose called Once Upon a Time. I don't want the women who write to order their books on Amazon. I want them to buy to support little local bookstores so that they can continue to.
But we can't really stop time.
We cannot.
No. And look,
I buy a lot
Amazon,
of stuff. Amazon Prime is genius. The fact that I can
It's
order
gonna
it and the
change,
next
though.
morning
Wait till
it's
those
going to be there.
taxes hit.
Right, but
Well-
we've all seen You've Got Mail. We know what's happening. Little shops are going out of business, and even that big shop now, Tom Hanks, is out of business. So
Yes.
your next girlfriend will be buying her books with.
but I think when we can, we
I
need,
watch
to,
my
sh-
books
we
on
need
my-
to not shop online when we can.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting to be inside of a store and to have that experience of like 3-dimensionally looking at the product and just feeling the other customers, and it's like the difference between watching Netflix
You've been
and
feeling up other customers
I do.
in the stores.
but I always ask first, may I touch you here?
Okay,
Is this okay?
May I loosen your bra?
A little story from before this. But we're going to skip to
I do have a tip that I'll share
you
about
have a- you
online
have a
shopping,
online shopping
that I
tip. Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
Is that if you are buying something online, open a separate window and Google discount code for
Yes.
Pottery Barn.
Isn't it
Discount
honey?
Yeah,
code
just use
for-
honey.
Honey
And you can use
does,
honey on it.
does all the discounting codes.
But if you just go on, you can find Retail Me Not or whatever, but there's usually a code and you never know, and it'll go in there. And if there is no code anywhere, call the 800 number at the website and ask the operator, do you have any promotions right now?
Wow.
And they will give them to you.
Wow,
Excellent advice.
That's
But here's the thing
excellent.
that freaks me out about
Yeah.
online shopping, and I used to do a lot more than I do now. You're on Facebook, you see something you really like, you click it. Then anytime you go online,
Never.
you're going to see ads for that
Right.
every
Never.
single time. And even worse, your phone is listening. You can say a product, go on your phone, and all of a sudden that product is going to show up as the first commercial to the video that you're about to watch. Like, what?
They know
It's-
everything.
Yeah,
They
it's
know
really
everything.
You can
scary.
browse privately on like DuckDuckGo and look and use that as your search place, and then it'll prevent you from getting the ads. It won't know what you searched for.
It's just so tricky though, and it's like, what do you want to make time to do? Like what's of value to you? Sometimes I'll see an ad that's appealing to me, but instead of clicking on it, I think I'll save them the dollar or nickel or whatever that they would have spent had I clicked on it, and I'll just Google the thing. And then maybe my computer will know a little bit less about me. Like it'll be like, oh, you like David Sanborn, so here's David Sanborn. And I'm like, oh, David Sanborn's coming, and I'll just open another tab and Google him rather than... I don't know.
I don't click on the links.
I kind of resist clicking on the links.
I do
feel like
too.
it's giving them too much information about me.
That's our protest in China. We're resisting clicking on the links. That's our
My
quality.
Chinese.
I'm going on WeFo or whatever
Yeah.
that is.
We're all authors. You guys ever read your customer reviews?
I've seen them. Amazon took away a lot of mine because they removed about I think about 20 of them.
Wow, Amazon really is
Hates
in a
you.
turf war with you.
No,
Yeah.
they've taken away a bunch of mine as well.
If they thought that I had a personal connection with them, they took them away. The Marines that wrote, they took those down, and I didn't realize that. Like, people have written me and said, "Where's my review in your book?" And I'm like, I don't know.
Well,
Nice
maybe
reading.
look how it says verified. Maybe they've taken
It has to
ones.
be a verified purchase. So
Yeah.
if anybody bought the book
Yeah.
not on Amazon, they don't consider it a
Yeah, if they
verified.
just-
so they bought it in a bookstore. If they bought it,
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I had
Yeah.
friends that verified purchases.
Vicky, we can buy your book on Amazon.
You can.
Would you like to read one of your customer reviews?
Do you want to say the name of my book, Louise?
Your book is called "Don't Jump: Sex,
Oh,
drugs,
that's dirty right there.
sex,
colon.
drugs, rock and roll, comma, and my
Fucking mother.
Yeah.
Louise can't even curse online. And my fucking mother. It's right on there. Okay. I bought this book on Kindle because I wanted it right when it came out. Then I bought the hardcover too, so I could always grab it off the shelf when I needed a laugh. But then I bought the audiobook because there is nothing better than having Vicky tell you this hilarious story in her own voice. It is at once hysterical, poignant, and deceptively smart. A must read. That's lovely. Who was that?
I know, that was a really nice
and
review.
a great customer.
She bought all three.
Yeah, it's a three-dimensional fan. Greg, would you like to read a customer review from the Pink Marine?
There is my only negative review is really funny. I wish I knew it by heart, but it's something about.
John could probably find it.
It's really funny.
This one is from Book Lover on September 8th, 2016, format paperback verified purchase. So funny and moving.
So funny and moving.
Yeah.
It walks the thin line between comedy and drama and takes off running. The author's perceptiveness and wit is matched only by his depth of feeling. This isn't a book about what it means to be a young gay man in the 1970s. It's a book about what it means to be human. Heard author on NPR. His interview is excellent and he is one incredible man. However, book is a struggle to read. Once you hear the interview, the book pales. Recommend buying just to support him.
Has this person ever read another book?
I don't know, but I
Because
love
your
them.
book is so easy to read.
I love that person.
It just, you can't put it down. That was a very honest, raw, and vulnerable.
Which, by the way, I want to say when the whole Hillary, the other guy thing happened, and I was very
She
pro
doesn't
Hillary.
say his name.
I will not say
It
his
won't
name.
be spoken.
And when I was very pro Hillary on Facebook, I did this one particular post, and I got 3 1-star reviews in less than 12 minutes.
Oh, they were
In less than 12 minutes, I got 3 1-star reviews. There was no way, and they weren't verified
They weren't
purchases.
verified.
Can you get
purchase.
those removed? Can you
And
write
they
Amazon?
would, and I tried, and they would not take them down. And then Amazon put up his Christmas ornament on my page. They were promoting his Christmas ornament on my book page.
We have that. It's one of the frequently asked questions for the Trump Christmas ornament.
Oh, lovely.
And it's the reviews, first of all, are brilliant. And it's an afternoon of fun reading. But I especially liked the frequently asked questions because it was answered as if the person did not know that the question itself was a joke.
If I put this ornament on my tree, will I have to use all white lights, or will my colored lights still be welcome?
And then read the answer.
Works fine with lights of any color. However, hook appears unlikely to support the dead weight of non-working ornaments.
It totally just answered the question. And now we go to our special features. Drum roll, please. Yeah, Facebook feed time.
Okay, do it.
It's Facebook feed time. I wrote a song for it just now. That was it.
Catchy little jingle. I like that.
I like
All
the
right,
logo.
so my friend Paul Paradiso posted, and how do you guys feel about taking pictures of random people that you think are dressed badly in public without their knowledge and then posting them on Facebook for people to mock? Yes, no, maybe?
I wear that outfit often, shorts and Uggs. That's how I go to the
So
grocery store.
That's a
so I'm not
California
sure.
So
staple, actually.
It's kind of like
I wish I had those legs.
you kind of have to answer it like if somebody caught you in an uncompromising photo and they posted of you, what would you think, right?
Right.
It
but if
depends on if it's recognizable. I was at my son's graduation, and there was this mountain of a person in front of me, and I couldn't see a thing. So I posted on Facebook my view of Harry's graduation, and people screamed at
They
me
were
that it was
hating you. You
mean
were
to take it down.
fat-shaming.
Meanwhile, no way in the world could you know who that person was.
All right, so put it up again, John, so I can read what Paul wrote. We can all agree on this, right? And then it's like hashtag
Ugh. Uggs for men, just know why not a man bun while you eat it? Or
While you're at it.
eat it.
While you're at it. Why not a man bun while you're at it?
I believe he has the right to
So,
his opinion, but
What we
who
have
cares?
is Douglas Johnson writes, what are our choices? 1, that is cute. 2,
Nice calves.
how you dress for success. 3,
what I was
off to the
thinking.
construction site we go. Or 4, wrong. And then Paul wrote, 4 is the only answer. And then there were several compliments on his calves.
Yes, lovely calves.
Yeah, nice calves.
Yeah.
But it's so cold. So what do we think? Uggs on men with shorts?
Why does he not get to share his opinion? I love that he gets to share his opinion. So he doesn't like it. It's his page. That's
Right.
what it's for.
But he took a picture of a guy from behind, and
That he
then
didn't know.
that he didn't know, and then he posted it for everyone to judge.
But we don't know who that person is.
Exactly. I think if we can tell who the person is, then it might be a tad on. Then it might be
Like
a
your
call.
torso may be the torso in the Weight Watcher or the news story about how
I thought you
people
were
have
gonna
too
say-
much midriff fat, and then they
Or
photograph
what not
people.
to wear.
Well, because everybody's an expert on Facebook now. So whereas that kind of a photo and that sort of comment string would expect it to be coming from someone with the fashion background or a style background, that's gone now. It's whatever it's your page
Everyone's a critic.
and an expert.
But
Right.
don't you think these kinds of things, like you've all have seen those Walmart pictures, people of Walmart, and
Right.
they're obese. It's like, don't we have better things to post and talk about?
No, we
Just in
don't.
general? Come on.
Apparently not.
Sometimes I want to be really superficial.
I have a problem. I have a problem with stuff like this because it always seems like we're pointing out that a man is adopting the style that usually mostly women wear, and I find that there's like a hint of misogyny in these kind of posts because
Agreed.
it's sort
I
of
can see that.
yeah, it's sort of like saying like why is a man wearing something that has like a girly connotation? It should only be worn by women.
Yeah, good point. Or he just doesn't think they look cute.
Well, I've seen mean stuff too of showing women wearing unflattering outfits and judging somebody's choice of.
I'd love to see posts of people who have odd body sizes who look awesome and have someone post and say, look how amazing she is wearing and walking around. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they've been doing this for centuries when you consider the fashion don'ts in glamour, where you never saw the person's face. It was just they took a picture of someone on the street and she probably recognized
sure.
herself.
Esquire, the New Yorker. That's where all the best cartoons came from.
Yeah.
I have somebody that helps me with I'm not colorblind, but somebody that helps me with color and other things to go on shows like this. And so I went on a show 2 weeks ago and I wore a red shirt just because I forgot I wasn't supposed to wear that shirt.
You're
I had
not?
a red shirt and a blazer and I went on and I was adorable on the show.
Right.
And I get out and there's a message. I told you not to wear that red
Oh
shirt.
my gosh.
Damn it. I did it again. And so I said, I'll throw away the red shirt. And they said, well, no, throw it away. Save it in case you have to paint something.
Okay, so
paint it.
our next feature is called "What's Twitter Trending," and I can write a song for that. What's Twitter Trending? Okay, there we go. And Thomas made that. Isn't that cool? So we have one Twitter trend, and I guess it's Bat Appreciation Day. Did anyone know?
I did
No.
not.
No.
And I love this post. It says, Michael Clark wrote, flip a picture of bats hanging upside down, and you have what looks like an epic dance-off.
It's true.
And
That's
those
funny.
are actual pictures of bats, and it looks like they're just getting fierce.
That's very
They've got some
cute.
moves, yeah.
Yeah.
They're fully committed to the arms, everything.
They're
Yeah.
listening to James Brown right now.
I love that.
Yeah, they've got the cape and everything.
I feel good. Ba-da-da-da-da-da.
I just complain about stuff on Twitter. I'm going to start getting into some bat stuff.
Yeah. Bat Twitter is deep. You got to go there.
I'm going. I wonder if they have bat Twitter in China.
They have bat Twitter in China. It's banned. Bats are banned in China. I want to thank you all for being here. Does anyone have anything to plug that they'd like to mention before we close?
I'll plug tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
got?
night we have Paul Provenza, who Satirista's The Green Room, but he's done a lot of mainstream TV, which I was Empty Nest. Who knew? I didn't know this. The West Wing. I know Paul as a comic.
The West Wing, that's right.
But
Yeah.
he had to cancel on us a month ago because he did a month on I'm Dying Up Here. So that wonderful show. So anyway, so Paul will be with us live tomorrow on Facebook, 7 p.m. Pacific time.
I'll be there.
There
Randy,
you go.
anything?
Well, the Music Connection podcast, just in Cleveland, and Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And of all the interviews I could have taken with me, I did an interview with two people you've never heard of. One is a 13-year-old boy who is an amazing guitarist, and a homeless guy, 28, a phenomenal guitarist.
Wow.
They met. This kid could not stop thinking about this guy who didn't even have a guitar case to put his money in, when he's busking. And he said to his mom, I want to buy him a guitar. The next day, I was with them. He presented him with a Fender guitar, an amp, and a case.
Oh, my gosh.
And then, so I interviewed them both, and then I had them both play.
Oh, wow.
And that's the story I took
love
away
this.
from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I love that.
That's
So,
wonderful.
there you go. So that drops tonight at midnight every
Okay.
Wednesday.
Since I admitted that I only complain on Twitter and
Right.
that I'm now going to be fired from being an Amazon influencer on Instagram, I'm going to plug that everybody should clearly follow me on Twitter and Instagram.
There you go.
Which
Yes.
is Eat Greg Eat.
Eat Greg
I'll
Eat.
plug
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
See
love
how
that.
it's not done.
Done, Greg, done.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you, Dina, Thomas, John, Jasper, Maddox.
Thank you, Louise.
I'm Louise Palanker. Please subscribe and share our show because we want to be your new favorite podcast. Goodbye, everybody.